Today's video is inspired by a question from one of my patrons, Lawrence Markoff, who asked how Palpatine was able to hide his Sith eyes while masquerading as a politician. I get a lot of questions about the yellow eyes of Darth Sidious and Anakin, so I figured I'd do my best to explain how they work, when they're visible, and why we don't see every dark side character get them. First of all, I think it's inaccurate to call them Sith eyes. Dark side eyes makes more sense to me, but I can understand people calling them Sith eyes for ease. The movies only show the Sith get them, but it's not something that you all of a sudden get when you pledge yourself to the Sith Order. They only pop up when someone is diving deep into use of the dark side of the Force. Anakin has them when he slaughters the Separatist Council and when he's declaring his hatred for Obi-Wan. He also has them when he faces off against Ahsoka. I think it's fair to say Vader might have them a lot underneath the helmet. Sidious has them when he's using lightning against Mace, and then almost every time we see him from that point forward, even when he's in front of the Senate. So I'm guessing Lorenz's question was about Palpatine before he got all melty. And the answer is simply that when he was in public, he wasn't going full-on dark side. He wasn't using the Force, or at least not to a great extent. We can also see characters like Snoke, Dooku, and Kylo Ren who never get the yellow eyes, at least in the films. The only time we've seen Kylo Ren with the yellow eyes is in the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, when he bleeds his lightsaber crystal, which is probably the most he ever dives into the dark side of the Force. We know that he is a conflicted character, feeling the pull to the light, so it makes sense that he wouldn't be walking around with yellow eyes all the time. In the same way, Dooku rarely goes fully into the dark side. I was actually surprised to find that his eyes do go yellow when he's training Savage Opress in the Clone Wars. But again, it makes sense to me that he wouldn't be walking around with yellow eyes all the time. Palpatine always viewed him as like a temporary replacement for Maul until he could turn Anakin. Maul himself called Dooku a Sith pretender at one point. So the yellow eyes weren't something that Palpatine had to actively try to hide before his face got all messed up. He just wasn't constantly delving that deeply into the dark side of the Force, at least not in public. Afterwards, maybe he was. There wasn't any point to hiding anymore. He had full control of the galaxy, and I expect most people didn't even know what the yellow eyes meant. They probably chalked it up to his messed up face. All that said, we do know that it was possible for him to alter his appearance. We see in Star Wars Rebels that he presents himself to Ezra as a kindly old man. I assume that was through some illusion in the Force. I've also seen some people throw around the theory that the fight with Mace Windu revealed his true form, and that Palpatine throughout the prequels was some sort of illusion hiding a figure that had deteriorated through years and years of use of the dark side. I don't really think that theory is true, but I do think it's in line with what the Sith eyes mean thematically. Use of the dark side as a poison. Giving into fear, anger, and hatred is worse for you in the long run. The yellow eyes are meant to be a visible representation of that. Some real-world diseases cause eyes to turn yellow, and that's what dark side emotions can become if you let them. The only real question I have left is about Maul. Dathomiri and Zabrak seem to all have yellow eyes naturally, so it's hard to tell if Maul or Savage Opress are constantly pulling from the dark side or if they're just chilling. But you can actually kind of see a difference between Savage before and after his transformation. His eyes seem to glow more and they have an additional red ring around the irises, so that's probably also a sign as to how intensely someone is using the dark side. And Maul's eyes usually look pretty messed up, and I figure it does take a lot of dark side usage to survive being cut in half and thrown down a pit, so that makes sense to me. But hopefully that clears up some stuff about dark side eyes or Sith eyes or whatever you want to call them. If you have any other burning questions about Star Wars, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.